Debunked. And we have our first person with a question. Platonic Love 39. You have a question?
Please tell us what you do.
You're talking about what I do personally in my life, like personally, or are you talking
under the name
about
Darth
what I'm doing
Dawkins?
online?
Yeah, under the name Darth Dawkins Debunked.
Okay. Basically, what I do is at what one specific person is saying, I focus on his claims, and if I see any inconsistencies or what I would perceive to be problems or contradictions, then I make a note of it, and then, you know, if I can find the video support, which usually I could. I've been doing this maybe about 2.5 years, so but basically that's what I do, is I just put all of this together, and I have a YouTube channel and a website and a quiz. So that's the basic idea of what I'm trying to do. But now one more thing, I don't try to interject my own worldview. I'm simply looking at his worldview, and it's basically I'm comparing what he says against himself. So I'm really not the one that's debunking him, not so much as he does himself. It's really Darth versus Darth, and far more, than not. So, but that's basically what I try to do.
Did you have another question?
So that's very interesting. Would you call yourself a deconstructionist?
No, just look at myself more like almost like a news reporter. I'm simply the information or the claims that he makes, and I'm just reporting it. So it's much like either a journalist or a news reporter.
Do you have another question before we go to the next person?
No, that's it. Thanks.
Okay, we'll move you back to the audience. If you have any more, just raise your hand again, please. Okay. Unsocially, you have a question for Darth Dawkins Debunked?
Sure. So we heard a little bit of what you do. Could you tell us a little bit more about do you have like a basic premise outside of reporting? Is there a central position that you have regarding Dawkins?
No, I'm actually trying to make an effort not to give my own position or to give my own viewpoint, or sometimes you could say the word worldview. I'm making an intentional effort not to do that, because I see what happened was I noticed when people do that, I noticed that right from the beginning. When people were trying to compare their worldview against Darth's worldview, like say in either a debate or a chat, it really doesn't get anywhere, because you can see right after Darth does his debates, often he goes into his own server. After everything is finished, he will go into a server and he will talk about how he destroyed some PhD or some professional philosopher. I noticed that right from the very beginning. So that's why I wanted to do something which was different, which would not involve my own worldview. I wanted to take his own worldview and do like a more or less a internal critique.
Okay, well, that's cool. Then let me rephrase my question. Based on your observations of his worldview and based on your observations of the criteria that either proves or disproves his worldview, what are your general thoughts?
You cut it out there. You may have to. again, or did you hear that?
I said, without interjecting your worldview, based on your observations, your journalistic observations using your own terminology on Darth Dawkins, based on what he says, what he does, do you have a general premise of whether he substantiates or disproves his own assessments?
No. As far as I'm concerned, he definitely, I mean, according to his own worldview, according to his own claims, it's my position that he doesn't have any basis for intelligibility to his own worldview.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'll move you back. If you have any more questions, please raise your hand. I have a question. How long ago did you start doing this?
It's been approximately 2.5 years since I started making notes. And it was shortly after that that I started to do the website. So it's been approximately 2.5 years.
Wow, that's a long time. And what made you decide to do it? I guess you just were struck by his content?
Well, I don't like anyone, it's not just Darth, but anyone who comes and makes a claim that they have got this absolute truth in their pocket. You know, that he comes across as a person that makes a claim that he has this absolute truth and that he has a higher, more philosophical ground, and he makes a sharp division between himself and even not only atheists and unbelievers and skeptics, but he makes a division between himself and other Christians. He says, if you do not have a presuppositional approach, you don't have a biblical worldview. That's what I didn't like, is somebody who comes across claiming they've got this absolute truth, and they know that they have this absolute truth. Yet, you look at what he's saying in context, like I said earlier, he debunks himself. He doesn't need me to do it. So that's what motivated me. The thing that motivates me is the idea that here's an individual that's claiming he's got this absolute package, he calls it the only coherent worldview, but it is not coherent.
On social,
I do agree that Darth's worldview,
Yeah, I
under those same problems.
Yeah, full disclosure here, I'm a believer, and we have a lot of those, but we have them on all sorts of areas of thought. We have atheists that believe they have the absolute truth. We have Christians that believe they have the absolute truth, which is kind of hilarious, particularly when it comes to believers that believe that there's only one omniscient God. Because if that were the case, then how do we claim to have absolute truth? So it's kind of like what you're saying. I have to agree with you that kind of debunks itself, right? If we truly believe in an almighty, all-knowing God, then how can we, being carnals and mere humans, suggest that we have an absolute truth? So I could not agree more with your position, and I just wanted to underscore the fact that we have those in all walks of life and patterns of thoughts, and it's a real pity, and it's a very self-limiting belief, unfortunately.
Okay, good. Yeah, thank you. That
another
was
question?
a very good remark. Thank you.
Yeah. What do you think it is that sets Darth Dawkins apart from other sorts of presups, in the sense that he seems to be the only one that has spawned such an army of clones and mini-me's? What is it about his approach that made so many Darth Dawkins clones?
Well, I think there are a couple answers, at least a couple answers to that. One is the emotional factor, because you can see in his debates or his chats. Now, I don't want to use the word conversation because, as far as I'm concerned, there are very, very few real conversations. It is more
Yeah,
like
that's
an
true.
interrogation. But to answer your question, I think, there's the emotional factor. He's very emotional. He's very committed to his worldview, and he's very, I want to say, he doesn't really change. Well, I don't want to say change. He has changed his position on many things. His idea is that, I've got the only coherent worldview, and nobody is going to prove me wrong. I've got an airtight package. It's ironclad, it's nuclear strength, and nobody is going to show me that I'm wrong. So I think it's that. These people that are listening to him, they take that hook, line, and sinker. They buy into it. And, that's one of the big reasons why I think he has this following. And I think also a lot of these people that follow him, in general, they are younger people. Now, not to say that younger people cannot think critically or don't have, critical thinking skills, but I tend to notice in many of his chats, they are younger people.
Yeah, it's definitely going to convince people that are already convinced. I think there's an element to it, too, that I just think he comes off as such a bully that is also going to appeal to a lot of younger theists. I don't know if you agree. Oh, you're muted. There you go.
Well, yeah, I am muted because I don't want to make any noise that will interfere, but I heard what you said. I missed, there was something you wanted to know about. Could you repeat the main point again? I'm sorry. Could you repeat it?
Oh, I was just saying, I personally think a reason that he has such a popularity with younger people is because there doesn't seem to be a lot of bullies in his field. And I think, it's the same reason why people admire like Ben Shapiro, is this like bullies want bullies to inspire them. And he's just the most popular one.
Bye-bye, J. Robin.
Okay, so I think I understand.
No,
I'm sorry.
Darth
Go ahead.
Dawkins
Go ahead.
just said interjection. When you were just asking Darth Dawkins to debunk that question, there was J. Robin was in the audience, and he just perfectly fits the description of being a Darth Dawkins minion. Guess he didn't want to have his hand raised. I wonder why. For what reason? Probably because he doesn't have mod powers in here.
Well, thank you for answering my question. I'll give the floor back.
Okay, just
Okay, thank you.
raise your hand if you have another question, and we'll move you to the audience.
We're probably scared that he would get stomped by the other Darth, which is me.
Sure.
I did send him. I think I sent him an invite link. So I imagine what he's probably doing now is he's going back and he's letting Darth know that this is going on, and they're probably going to talk about it. They're going to call. They're going to call me a stupid moron. That's typical. Yeah.
No. If he alerts Darth and PNR that this is going on, and he decides to come here, then that would be great. We're all looking forward for that moment. I mean, if you're not comfortable interacting with Darth, that's fine. We could move you to another stage room, but I would certainly like to interact with Darth.
Well, that's I'm glad you brought that up, because he already knows. I've already let him know. I've already been clear to him that if he wants to have a conversation with me, it's going to boil down to he's going to be on my terms. It's not going to be, going into the cookie cutter script that he uses. Are you an atheist? What is your worldview? That's not what it's going to start off as. It's going to start at a certain point, and I've already made it clear to him what that point is. So it's fine if he wants to come in here. Beautiful. I don't have any problem with that, but he's going to start on my terms.
So what's that point at which you would like the conversation to start? Yeah, just curious. What does that mean?
Okay. Well, when I first started this, it was probably, I'm guessing, maybe about a year and a half ago, or 2 years, somewhere between a year and a half to 2 years. I was in a YouTube chat. I was in the text area, not the audio area, but I was in the text area, and I was listening to Darth. This was on the Jungle Jargon's YouTube channel. They were having a live stream, and I started typing questions or typing comments into the text area. And when he saw me typing the comments, this is the first thing out of his mouth, the very first thing that he ever said to me. He accused me of being a liar. So I asked him, when and where did I lie? And so that's the point that we're going to start on tonight. That's what I want to hear from him, is how or when did I lie? If he does not address that, there's not going to.
He is over there. If you would like me to try to get him over, I don't mind trying.
No, just let's see
fine.
what happens. That's that. I mean, you can't do that. I mean, the guy is literally an idiot. I mean, the guy, like, he goes around like wearing this invisible tuxedo of might that, oh, I'm here to crush the atheists, right? And then he was in here for like 10 minutes in the audience, and we were directly talking about his fan base, and he didn't raise his hand. How peculiar.
J. Robin did go over
Well,
there.
not.
He's in the room now with him, for what that's worth.
I'm telling you, man, these presups, they can only do damage if they have admin powers. They're afraid of going to enemy territory. That's why they never come here.
Yep.
He does often make the same claim about the atheist call-in shows, which is ironic.
Hey,
Well.
Darth Dawkins Debunked. I have a question for you.
One of my most recent videos was actually, it was about this thing where Darth says he would love to talk with some intelligent atheists. He says, where are all of these intelligent atheists? So I did a video on that, and that was one of my most recent videos. And I even sent him the link to it. I emailed him the link to that video, answering, making my case. Here I am. Okay. And I never heard anything back from Darth. I only heard back from, I sent the message to 3 people. I sent it to Otangelo, J. Robin, who was just here, and I sent it to Altoid Can. So Altoid Can was the only one that replied. He's an atheist. He replied, and he gave me the answer to the question that I asked Darth. But I never heard directly from either Darth or the other 2.
Yeah, Darth. Darth Dawkins Debunked. He I've heard his statements about you already, so I kind of know how he feels about you. But would you say you have a good defeater for his worldview, or like have you even tried to defeat his worldview, or are you just kind of like a reporter, just like taking notes on what he says? That's my question.
He has defeated his own worldview multiple times. So it's not really something that I came up with. It's just I'm going by what he is actually claiming. Oh, yes. I mean, he has provided us with a defeater to his own worldview.
Okay, so of all the things that he's provided us, is there a particular topic in which you want to focus tonight so we can get some content conversation going?
No, I mean, I didn't really have any particular point. I mean, I'm open to any questions. I understand that this is a AMA, it's Ask Me Anything. So I didn't really come in with a particular conversational point. I'm open to speaking about anything, really.
How about how long do you intend to keep doing this? Years and years, it sounds like, right?
Well, as long as I have the motivation, it's hard to say. It just depends on how long I have the motivation to do it. I will know myself at that point, whether or not I want to continue. I feel that I've already demonstrated the main point that I've tried to do. I've already shown on multiple claims that he has made that his worldview is not coherent, and he has no basis for intelligibility according to his own worldview. I've already did that, and it's all basically I'm just sitting back and listening to him. It's not something I'm really doing. I'm just taking notes and listening to what he says and comparing his own worldview. So I've already basically achieved my objective, I feel. But as long as I feel motivated to do it, I will do it.
Yeah, Darth Dawkins' debunked point is that he doesn't need to bring up a point that defeats Darth Dawkins' worldview if Darth Dawkins has repeatedly in the past contradicted himself. Saying that, for example, how God cannot change necessary truths, 1 + 1 = 2, but in the same other video, he says that God can make it so that 1 + 1 = 3. That's an obvious contradiction.
Right. Yeah, that much I got.
Yeah, my question.
Well, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to interject. There's a similar claim that he made. He had said one time, not only one time, but he had made the claim that God, his biblical God, cannot act against his own will or against his own nature. He cannot do something that is more ultimate than himself, or do something that is more, since he is the creator, he cannot create a state of affairs which is more ultimate than himself. But he also said that Jesus Christ, who is part of the Trinity, and Darth is a Trinitarian, and Darth believes that Darth said that Jesus could, under certain conditions, create a rock so heavy that he could not lift.
So I guess my question for you is, what would you say is the ultimate basis for truth?
Quadrahedron.
I was kidding. Sorry, I couldn't help it. That's all.
Quantum field.
No, that's a terrible answer.
Humor.
Don't ever say that again, Frank.
All right, Darth.
The thing about his argument is that you could just presuppose your own ultimate to just say it's a quadrahedron, fundamental physical substance outside of space-time, and I know this because that physical substance revealed it to me. All the processes that I see in nature are indicative of this very thing that necessarily exists, and he couldn't defeat my argument because that's just how he argues for God, but instead of saying a physical substance, he just says it's a mind.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think Darth's entire worldview, not only Darth, but any of the presuppositionalists, they're making an argument basically from authority. I mean, even Darth's hero, who is Cornelius Van Til, he clearly said that presuppositional apologetics is an argument from authority. Well, okay. Are they the only people that can make an argument from authority? I mean, there's other people that can make an argument from authority too, and there is no reason, as far as I'm concerned, to think that the argument that Darth makes is any more on higher philosophical ground than any other argument from authority. Anyone can create out of thin air an argument from authority. I can create an argument from authority right now, And my argument from authority, all I have to do basically, if you were speaking to me, I could say, no, you're wrong. And why? I would say, well, because based on my authority, you are wrong. And no matter what he says, I will just say, based on my authority, you are incorrect.
Right, because then you could just say that all truth depends upon your authority. So if you contradict the authority, you would be contradicting yourself. So, I mean, that's what he does for God.
That's
because
right.
He says, he says, truth is that which conforms with the mind of God. Okay. Truth is that which conforms with the fundamental physical substance. You argue against it, you would be arguing against the necessary precondition for intelligibility. Like, it's no different. It justifies anything. That's the problem with presuppositionalism.
That's right. So his argument from authority boils down to the Bible, which claims that it is its own authority. So it's circular, and he admits that it's circular. So if he can play that, hey, what's fair for the goose is fair for the gander.
Is there any particular things that really stood out as like the most interesting?
Well, I think it's very interesting when he starts talking about the uniformity of nature and physics, and it was very funny if you watched his chat with Dr. J. Field. This was maybe about 2 months ago, talking to Dr. J. Garfield, and he talked about physics is the same as the uniformity of nature or something like that. Very funny how Darth conflates many of his terms, and that right there is one of the reasons why he contradicts his own worldview, is because he conflates these terms, and so he gets himself into a philosophical mess when he does that. He doesn't even realize he's doing it, but that is exactly what's taking place.
I saw the one, I think it was with T-Jump, when his answer was reality. And Darth said, what is reality? Didn't know what reality was.
Well, I think to be charitable, he's asking for clarification there, because, like, what do you mean by reality? Like, Darth views reality as like an abstraction.
Okay, to be charitable with Darth, as far as I'm concerned, in context, when you look at this guy and how he treats others and his interactions with others, this is a guy who, if you are charitable to him, he's going to come up with a blade and he's going to cut your throat for being so nice. So I learned this personally on a one-on-one basis when I actually had my interactions with Darth. Learned, don't give him an inch. And he says the same thing about his own position. He says he will not give them anything. And that's my view too. I will not give Darth anything. I won't give him the benefit of the doubt. I will not be charitable with him. Whatever comes out of his mouth, whatever he says, that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to weaponize it, because that's what he does.
Yeah, I was always nice to him when I spoke with him. Even when he was mean to me, I would just maintain composure and continuously be nice to him.
Yeah, I don't have any problem being nice to him, but I'm not going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to be charitable. Whatever comes out of his mouth, I'm going to use against him, because that's what he does to other people. So I say to him, Matthew 7:12, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. He's got this double standard. He even admitted it. He calls it a benevolent dictatorship, where he was talking in his server and they brought that up. Do you have a double standard? And he said the standard that he uses himself is not the same standard that he applies to other people. So he admits that he has a double standard. So I won't be charitable to him. I won't give him anything, because I know, as far as I'm concerned, I look at this like a street fight. There's no rules in a street fight. If I don't do it, he's going to come up and he's going to, like he says, he will use that phrase, I'm going to hang you with the own rope that you gave me, or I'm going to cut you with the knife that you gave me. You know, I'm going to drop the nuclear strength bomb on you. That's what he likes to say. So this is my enemy. I'm not going to be nice to my enemy.
I try to be nice to my enemies when possible. It's actually a better strategy, I believe. Also, if I'm not nice, then I'll either get muted or booted, or even if it's not in his server, he would just leave if I wouldn't be nice. So I think it just appears better if you're nice to him, even if he's not nice to you. Same thing on the street. If someone's not nice to me, I try to still be nice to them. Now, if they still take it extreme.
Well, the problem is that the principle of reciprocation, he's not nice to you, like, why should you be nice to him? Like, literally goes back to the golden rule. We could just apply his own ethic onto him.
I know, but it makes you look like a bigger person when you're nice. Yeah, I know. You can't get walked all over. I understand this too. And
you can't, no, and not only because of that, you can't, it's not because he insults people, which I think is his problem. It's because he insults people and he just directly misrepresents them. That's the problem. Like, saying that atheists have no ultimate, where does that come from? Like, what? That's obviously a straw man, because there are atheists who do hold to a necessary existing thing, but it's not a mind, and that's as plausible as, even more plausible as a position than his dumbass idea that a mind can exist outside of temporality, when we can only conceive of a mind as being a processional thing that has thoughts. So but the problem with Darth is that he's not only insulting, but he's not charitable either. That's my main problem with him.
Well, he's against atheists, whereas
It doesn't matter. He's against atheists because it's like something. To be fair, if I were to, I'm no psychologist, but he just hates atheists because it's an emotional attachment inside of him that says, "I'm going to hate these group of people." You gotta remember that he has had a hard past life, right? And I think he just uses this debate style on the internet. He spends most of his days debating people on the internet to vociferously get that out of him, that hatred, and he takes it out on atheists.
I think
most religious people are like that, by the way. I think most religious people are like Darth, whether they like it or not. Some are more mild than others, but most people that are religious, they just have this view of atheists of being like scumbags for no reason. It's not like they have a warrant for it.
I was going to say something.
I could just call them all scumbags. I mean, they're the ones who come up with these lousy ass arguments for God, but it's obviously because they just want God to exist. It's not because they have any rationale to do so. If they would come up with better arguments.
I was going to say something similar. That a lot of religious folks don't care for atheists, but they do have a reason. I think the reason is that we make them second guess their thoughts that are not necessarily based in reality. I would contend that they're not based in reality. Try to be respectful. I don't have anything against theists. I believe that they're generally victims of childhood indoctrination.
Well, that's not. Well, doesn't matter. You can easily get out of that so-called indoctrination.
I know we did, but
I got out of it.
Yeah, we did, but not everyone can.
It's that most of them are not charitable, and most people, like you mentioned, old people. Most people are laymen. So most people do not understand the apologetics. Most people do not understand the philosophy. What they do is rely on very simplistic videos like Frank Turek, for example, or Ray Comfort, and that's where they get their philosophy from, right? And these people are vehement towards atheists, right? So what do? They replicate the behavior of those people. The same thing goes with Darth and his minions. His minions just emulate whatever he says. They're parrots. Like J. Robin. Like, it would take J. Robin word for word. He sounds just exactly like Darth.
I have a hard time blaming them because Darth is like the only religious person that I see do a decent job of debating. The theists generally.
Darth is not. No, that's he's not a decent debater. If he's a decent debater, then all you need to do to become a decent debater is just scream at people, which anyone can do.
And another thing is, if you don't emulate Darth right down to the T, he'll like go against you eventually, like he does with everyone.
Yeah, so that's the strategy that I think is most effective against Darth Dawkins, is to become like him, emulate his argument, and then you'll see how he crumbles, because he can't give a counter argument to that, because that's the same way he argues for his God, the same exact way. You just replace God with something else as your ultimate, and it follows equally.
Yeah, his Darth Dawkins, like his guess the way he debates is like not respectable, and it's not effective either. So, yeah, definitely not the best theistic debater.
He's not, because look, he, even against people who aren't familiar with the argument, he does poorly against them as well. Like, he had a stage on Saturday, and he just got mad instantly because they weren't, going along with his script. If he was a better con man, what he would do is just like try to deceive people into falling into these traps so they contradict themselves. That's better. That's a better way of being a con man than just saying, "Oh, get him out of here." Right? It's not like he's even trying anymore.
I could probably do a good impression of him.
Well, I do an impression of him. A lot of people do impressions of him because he's a meme at this point.
Anyone else got any questions?
Worldview.
Before you do your impression, do you have a question for Darth Dawkins Debunked?
Sure. Yeah. I guess, I don't know. This is one I've been thinking of recently. I know people say like we can feel God's presence, but I'm wondering, like, if God is omnipresent, why we wouldn't always feel his presence.
If he is omnipresent, why don't we feel his omnipresence?
Yeah, wait, this is for Darth Dawkins Deep.
Okay, yeah, I was just putting in my hand. DDD, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to. I'm not going to make any claims about what other people feel. Okay, that's not what I'm trying to do. That's not my objective, my intent. So he can say that he feels anything, or anyone can say they feel anything. I don't really have anything to say about that. It's not part of what I'm trying to do.
So basically, to give you an idea of what he's doing, he's trying to show the utter lunacy of Darth Dawkins in a more advanced way that Tom Rabbit does, because Tom Rabbit just records conversations. He actually doesn't go through the type of analysis that Darth Dawkins Debunked goes through, which would be to record what Darth says and compare it to some other thing which appear to be in contrast, contradicting each other, right? And that's just to expose that his argument is weak, because the only way that he could try to defend such an argument without completely sounding just ridiculous is by contradicting himself. Now, most people don't see it. Most people aren't aware of it because, number one, he just talks in word salad. But some people who are apt in the field know that his claim that you need a foundation for truth, he can't substantiate that without at least contradicting some web of beliefs that he holds in his worldview. That's the thing that Darth Dawkins Debunked is doing here.
Okay. Yeah, this was a big misunderstanding on my part. I thought Darth Dawkins Debunked was a theist. Yeah, I
No.
haven't seen his content.
He doesn't.
Well,
He's not necessarily here to take a side.
No, he's not here to take a side. He's just
But
here
I'll
to answer
check out-
questions about what the videos he makes, basically.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen his channel, so I'll check it out. And I guess I'm gonna go.
I wanted to.
I don't really have any questions for you.
All right, we'll put you back. If you have another question, please raise your hand.
Okay, thanks.
Hey,
Thanks.
Zay, you got anything to say, Zay?
Yeah, Darth and I have been friends for 11 years. He and I are very good friends. I'm in his inner circle, and I consider you're my friends too. You know, Darth. You are my friends as well, and I can say something
Darth
about you.
Arianus.
Yes, Darth Arianus. That's how you say. Thank you. Strong atheist and Frank. I can say this about Darth is that he does have a good side. He has a lovable side. He has a humorous side of himself. He does have a love and a good side to him. Because I have been there, I have seen it. 11 years with him. Mm-hmm.
Well, it must be that his good side is when he's not talking about religion. Like if you asked him something about Taylor Hicks, he'd probably be more lightened up than whenever he talks about presuppositionalism.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, even that is questionable because when somebody mentioned Taylor Hicks, and I've got this clip in my YouTube studio, but they actually came into one of the chats and they were using a profile photo of Taylor Hicks, and Darth accused that person of being a troll. So even on that point, I think maybe just depending on which mood he's in, that would determine what he's going to say about that.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. There was a time when Doris know that I've been atheist, that I'm an atheist. I've been atheist all my life, and he knows I've been an atheist. There's sometimes I do speak up to him. Sometimes I do speak up with Darth about his view, and he speaks about my views as well. But he has never argued with me whatsoever. He's been cordial. He's been polite. He knows I'm an atheist. He has always been polite with me, knowing that I'm an atheist, and he has talked to me about my opposing views, my worldviews versus his. So he's been very cordial and nice to me. Yeah. But I just want to say that he does have love. He does has a good side. He has light in him, and there is a positive side in Darth when you get to know him the way I have. Okay, go on, please. Mm-hmm.
I've yet to see it.
Oh, you yet to see it. Yeah, he's been very good to me. He's been very good to me for 11 years. He has never muted me, has never server mute me. I've been banned from politics and religion server. I've been banned before, but the next morning I was allowed back in. I was allowed. He has the heart to forgive. He does have with me. He has the heart to forgive. So I can I can say that. So he's been good to me. Yeah.
That's good.
Okay.
Let's hope that in the near distant future he kind of changes his ways. Maybe I'm overly optimistic, but Let's see. Never know.
Yeah, I want to weigh in on what she said. I mean, I think Zayt an exception to the rule because, based on what I've seen, and this is something that he explicitly says. He is always speaking about atheists. Oh, these atheists are liars. They are, they are, and he has gone on record as saying, quote, "I did my job. I humiliated the atheists." So he said that on a couple of occasions. So just in general, the way that he speaks about atheists and especially the way that he actually relates and interacts with the majority of the atheists or unbelievers, anyone that does not accept his worldview, even Christians who are not presuppositional Christians, he draws a division between himself and those Christians. As far as he is concerned, if you are not a presup, you are not biblical. You don't have a biblical view. So, I appreciate that you are saying he's been nice to you. He's got another side to him. I'm not going to say anything against that, but just based on his, let me put it this way, based on his online demeanor and his interactions with others, far more often than not, I don't see that side of him. I'm sorry.
Well, the other thing about Darth is that he picks and chooses. Of course, he picks and chooses which people he can act nice towards. So maybe he just won the lottery by him being nicer to you. But anyone who hasn't been in his inner circle for about 10 years, he absolutely despises, even if they're presup. You know why? Because he had a falling out with, he's not too amiable with Jay Dyer, and Jay Dyer is a presup, but Jay Dyer is not in the same denomination as Darth Dawkins, and they hate each other. Like they won't interact with each other. Another one is Mr. Batman. Mr. Batman and Darth despise each other, and they both kind of employ the same arguments. Batman is more of a mix of evidentialism and presuppositionalism, but you get the point. Darth is the kind of person who's not good at making friends. He's the kind of person who's good at breaking friendships.
I don't think that he ever very rarely makes any friendships. I mean, I can appreciate that. But, I mean, he literally muted me the other day because I asked him a question. I listened to him. He told me to shut up. I listened. I responded. I was kicked. And it's just as simple as that. It's like, that's no debate. That's no, like you were saying, Ariel, there's no argument. There's no debate there, essentially. How do you engage in any kind of form of rejection of what someone says if they're just going to literally kick you? And I was quite pleasant with the guy.
I think this goes back to what Darth Dawkins Debunked was saying earlier. His job, and admittedly so, he's admitted to this, is to humiliate the atheists. That's all. And humiliate with an asterisk, because he doesn't actually do that. He just mutes and kicks them out without any argument. His job is just to do that. He wants to embarrass people. Same way that Ask Yourself wants to embarrass people. It's just that Ask Yourself is different in his approach of doing that. All these people are here to just satisfy their egos. That's it. He's not willing to learn. Why would he want to learn about anything if he has the ultimate truth by his side? So that's his whole approach, and that's not the approach with him. It's the case with Jay Dyer. It's the case with Mr. Batman. It's the case with Matt Slick. All these people are just slimy. They're the worst of the worst. The reason why they are the way they are is because the argument that they present leads to that kind of psychological behavior. There's no other way to put it. Me, they're all the same in terms of how bad they are. It's just that some are worse than others.
I find, I don't know around if you, through like the history of like Facebook groups, etc. Do you remember Sergio Hill? I don't know if that name rings a bell.
No.
A very toxic theist, but had a brain on it. You know, he really did speak he knew exactly what he was talking about, but he was just an absolute arsehole. You know,
what? Can you give an example? Like,
well,
can you show an example of? Yeah, what was his argument?
Well, it was more of in between an idealism and pantheism. So he knew his physics. He was very up on philosophy and logic and everything like that. And that's why I found that, you know, Darth Dawkins was quite, you know, and even Mr. Batman, should we say, was very, very, very up on specifying logical arguments, which I appreciate and I've learned a lot about. But it's just immediately toxic. As soon as you question anything, it just immediately goes to insults like ad hominems and.
Well, ad hominems aren't exactly insults, not necessarily. They just insult people. The point is that what you said. I believe you said it was about idealism. Like, isn't an idealist argument for God?
Yeah, so it was more of like an idealistic, pantheistic kind of approach rather than having a formal religion. It was more of a source of all.
Okay. Problem with idealism is that
the logic.
Yeah, the problem with idealism is that it doesn't account for object permanence, like how things can remain intact.
Materialism.
Material things can remain intact, independent of the observer. Like even babies can know that at a little age that things can remain intact, even if they're not directly perceiving them. Idealism has no way of accounting for object permanence. That's number one. And I'm just talking about
absolutely
classical idealism. I know there's different variants. Number two, pantheism. Which version of pantheism? Like, if they just say God is the universe, then okay, then I guess God exists then, but I wouldn't call that God.
God is
they
all
say
nature.
God is wait, let me finish. If they say God is everything, well, then that's just a useless definition because you can't contrast God to anything at all. Because that very same thing that you would contrast it to would also be a God. So that's another useless definition. So there's a lot of problems with pantheism conceptually. The other one has to do with conflating nature being fundamental with nature being divine. Just because nature is fundamental doesn't mean that nature has like this all-powerful property to itself. It just means that nature would just be responsible directly for the reality that we're in. Nothing of that necessarily entails divinity. That's another problem with pantheism.
Yeah, so I mean, I believe that the argument that they posed, if I can remember rightly, was that, you know, there's a sort of like a 3-point kind of law, and this is going off of what I remember, you know, in a debate, was physicality, mathematics, and the one thing that wasn't accounted for was logic. So it's kind of like I think I remember watching something about William Lane Craig, and
Oh boy.
and him and Sir Roger Penrose. It was kind of along that lines where logic, avoiding like the infinite regression, etc., cosmological argument is that choice, logic, conscious thought was overriding. It was the first source of that
So
was the argument.
that's
I'm an
easy.
atheist,
All
by the
that
way,
is
and
easy.
yeah,
All of that is easy for me to respond to. Number one, truth can be either taken to be two ways. When we say that something is true, it can either mean as a property of a statement. A statement is true if it corresponds to reality. Your correspondence theorist, you would say that. Or truth can be an abstract object. Now, the thing about abstract objects is that they're causally, they don't stand in causal relations. So positing that they have a cause, right, is kind of absurd, because if you hold that they're invariant and they're not dependent upon space-time, how can you also say that this abstraction is contained within a mind? That's just weird, because then you would then if an abstraction like truth requires a mind, but truth is like an eternal property, then going by that logic, God's mind would also require something else to contain it, because God's mind, they also say, is an eternal abstract property. So that's the problem with divine conceptualism. Divine conceptualism is incoherent.
Yeah, so that just to make it fully clear, I'm not disagreeing with anything that you're saying. I actually agree 100%. You know, I'm an atheist myself. I'm quite an agnostic because I can't know, but also at the same time, it's I just don't understand why things essentially get so toxic, you know, immediately. It's like as soon as you disagree with something, it's like they hold an objective opinion, which is absolute truth, and that can't ever be the case to me.
Well, it's because they're inspired by Romans 1:18. Says that if they're a Christian, that's the case, and if they're a Muslim, the Quran just resembles what the Bible says, and say that the unbelievers either were they the creator of themselves, or did the universe create itself, or were they created by nothing? Like these verses in either of those texts, right, just resemble, they try to paint unbelievers as just maniacal, brain-dead idiots who just, the only reason why they deny God is because they don't want a God to exist. And when you read those texts, and those texts influence your childhood, what do you think is going to result out of that? You're going to think that unbelievers of all ages, they're just idiots who just want to deny God because they want to be sinful, right? And that's the attitude that these people apply to unbelievers.
I just feel that like fundamentally, my capabilities, regardless of yours or anyone else's, it's if anything of any such magnitude exists, it's objectively not capable. Everything that we do is subjective, and every thought that we have is subjective, even if we're on the right tracks.
I agree.
The next thought is gonna criticize that, you know, and so no, it's just that I just wanted to weigh in there. Ariana, it was just there's some fucking toxic like theists out there.
Well, I just wanted to add on, and maybe we should dive for questions, because I know Darth Dawkins Debunked wants to like get the ask me anything event going. The other thing is that that these people also like hearing themselves talk, right? And the point is that the more you kind of develop a self-loving relationship with the way you speak, the more you want to use that speech to like impose your point of view on other people. And for some reason, all the precepts, they suffer from the same diagnosis. They just love hearing themselves speak. But the thing about you said about believers, personally, my family, they treat religion like if it's a matter of opinion. That's why they're not too focused on it. Even though they believe in God, they don't actually care. If I'm an atheist, they don't actually care if their neighbors are atheists because they view it like it's a matter of opinion. But the theists who are more hardline, of course, they don't view it as a matter of opinion. They view it as a matter of fact. And when you view things as a matter of fact, sometimes you feel the pressure of wanting to articulate your position the best you can and just outweigh your opponents by doing whatever it is to shut them up.
Yeah, I mean, I was born. I mean, I'm from England, and my parents both devout Catholics. I was brought up very strict, not strictly, but very aligned, shall we say, day to day. Or, my mother was a Catholic teacher, and we used to go to midnight mass and a free holiday kind of thing. And it was actually my mum, a devout Catholic, that said, everything is science, whether it's philosophy, physics, mathematics, it's, and that's where you need to take it from there, essentially. Sorry, not to pause or delay any further, but that was just how I was brought up. And my dad was kind of like hey, Dad, can I have that? And he was always yeah, all right then. But my mum was more the questionable type, but is a devout Catholic, to this day. But I do appreciate, Ariana, your words, and I just wanted to weigh in. It was just my experience of really, really, really toxic kind of theists that aren't even religious, essentially, or haven't displayed their religion, but just toxic, as soon as you speak to them.
Yeah, it's like they've been listening to Britney Spears too much, no pun intended.
Yeah. But it's been a pleasure anyway, and I'll listen in, but yeah, I'll let you guys crack on, and thank you, Ariana. It's all right.
Cool.
Thanks.
I just have to say, I see Darth Dawkins. Darth Dawkins debunked. I had to hop in, say hello to him, and strong atheist.
Or are you gonna say hello to me? I'm another Darth.
Oh, hello. How are you doing?
Anyone else have any other questions for the one and only Darth Dawkins debunked?
Will you ever have a debate with Darth Dawkins directly on this stage?
Well, I would, but as I said earlier, I answered a similar question to that. He already knows where he has to start. If we do have a debate or a conversation, he already knows what the starting point is going to be. So it just depends on whether he wants to do that or not. And I don't think at this point in time, I don't believe that he would be willing to do that.
I don't think he will, personally, because I tried to get him over. I sent him a DM with an invite. No luck.
This is a guy that's either muted. This is a guy that's either muted me or banned me or kicked me. Recently, as just last week, I was completely kicked out of the politics and religion server. No warning, no 1, 2, 3 you're out, no nothing. I was just completely kicked out. And I didn't say a word while I was in there. So this is a guy, he's made it clear, at least according to what he's did or that he's asked other people to do, you know. Either
I don't
he
think
is kicking me out or he's asking someone else to do that. So on that, I don't feel that he really is serious about having any kind of a chat with me, unless I'm in his server where he has control of the mute button.
I don't think that you have to say anything for that to be the case, because he typically gets rid of people that have anything with his name in it. So it could have just been that. Also, I didn't invite him previously because I had seen you had a confrontation with him before and didn't want to instigate anything.
I personally have been alerted that I can't be in a voice chat with him in PNR recently because of my name. Because I have Darth in my name, so like I'm allowed on politics and religion. Like I go on stages with that name, but I'm not allowed going into a voice chat with him because he thinks I'm impersonating him when I'm not. Like I have Darth in my name, but my profile pic looks nothing like his.
But I sent him the DM with the invite tonight after you said you were going to be open to it. I didn't send it before because I saw you had a confrontation with him before and didn't want to instigate anything to make you feel uncomfortable as a guest.
Yeah, I've had 2 or 3 confrontations with him. Now, going back to what I said earlier, it might have been the bot, you know, because I know that they have a bot, at least one of them, in the politics and religion. So it could have been that actually kicked me out. I don't know, but it's probably, you know, if it is the bot, it's probably picking up on my name, you know. It sees that, so maybe it just automatically kicked me out. That could be possible.
I see people with that his name and then with something bad after it get kicked all the time. I go in and listen to him a lot because he's an interesting person, and I see people with that name and bad things after it, they get kicked pretty quickly.
But the thing that's really funny about my interactions with him, in the interaction that I had with I was in Smoky Saint server, and you know, he tried to get me into a script. He tried to ask me, am I a theist or an atheist? And I wasn't willing to get into a script. So he left, you know, on his own. He actually voluntarily left. He insulted me first. You know, he said that this guy, he's not wrapped too tight mentally, you know, and so he left. And then on the interaction with him, which was in Jungle Jargon, that's where he convinced Jungle Jargon to kick me out of the server. But then later, he said in his own personal server, you know, I believe it was either the Atheist Helpline or the Reformation server, I forget. I think it was Atheist Helpline, but his friends, and I'm saying that in quotes, okay, friends, he told them that I ran from him like a cockroach. He claimed that I ran from him, even though it was him that actually left the server in one of the cases, and he kicked me in the other case. But he had the gall to say that I ran from him.
Just curious, if you were going to be in politics and religion, if you weren't banned from there, would you have gone into a room with them?
I was in a room with him. I was in a room, I think probably about maybe 10 days ago. I was in the politics and religion server probably there for about 10 minutes. And that was the same day that I was kicked out of the server because I left. He saw me in there. Okay. Icon is right next to his icon. And there weren't that many people in there. So he saw me, and then I left. And then when I tried to come back in about 30 minutes later, I couldn't get back in. So that was the time when I was actually kicked out of the server.
Were you looking to speak with them or just listen?
No, I was just in there only to listen because I was in there before him. There probably about 10 minutes before he even came in. So I wasn't in there to try to talk with him. And that's the same thing that happened on a couple other occasions where I was in the server before he ever got to the server, and I ended up being muted or banned from that server.
Was it based on politics or
sorry, what was that again?
Was it based, the reason that you joined that group, was it based on politics or possibly,
No, because I know even though the server is called the server is called politics and religion, they don't really talk too much about politics. Usually it's something that has to do with religion. So that's the reason why I was there, is to listen to that, because I'm not generally interested in politics, but I did go in there just to listen to what they were saying.
I can agree with that. For what it's worth, politics I find very futile. It's pathetic. That's the way that I see it. I know it's required, but I'm in Britain, so it's quite pathetic. No, but Darth Dawkins, are you a theist or an atheist? I know that you was criticising the question earlier that was asked before. You a theist or an atheist?
That's my whole objective. That's my intent, is not to interject my worldview. So I deliberately try to not answer, questions of that type. It's not that I'm trying to be evasive, but it's just that's not my intent. That's not my objective. In other words, let me put it this way.
Possibly.
Well, let me put it this way.
Yeah.
Darth himself has gone on record at least a couple times, saying he doesn't have to say anything about his worldview, show the problems in someone else's worldview. So that's the position I've taken. I actually learned that from him. So that's the reason, that's the main reason why I do not interject my own point of view, is because according to him, it's not necessary for me to do that.
But you do believe in a God, though.
I don't express my own viewpoint.
But it's not impressing, and I don't mean to press. It's just going forward. A God you believe in, which you don't press on pressuring or anything like that. Is that correct? Say you're a theist.
Again,
Don, did you have a question?
Yeah, more like a bit of a comment for Darth Dawkins Debunked. I think that, I've followed Darth for a long time too. But if you want, any of us could look up a Hitchens-Craig debate and be entertained. But that's kind of the Dillards of the debate, me bro crowd. If you want WWE or Monday Night Raw, you go to Batman, Nephilim Free, Darth Dawkins, and this is where you're entertained. This is where these are the arguments that like I look for. I enjoy the aggression and a little bit. It pushes me a little bit to try to strengthen my argument, to listen to theirs and try to find holes, and at the same time try to ignore the fact you've been called a liar or an adolescent. And it's easy to do. The debate style is fun. He does do personal attacks and this and that, but like I said, we're dealing with the difference between Walmart and Dillard's here. It's in the debate style. And so it's what I'm getting at is we enjoy those really highbrow debates, but we are entertained by these other styles of debate. So if you attack Darth Dawkins' argument in his arena, you're going to get put out, but you may last longer than others. But just like Matt Dillahunty has his style, Darth Dawkins is 180 degrees out on the other side. So it's just what my comment was. I don't think that you'll get an honest debate out of him other than a little bit of a slugfest. But it's a fun argument that he presents.
Yeah, Don, I agree. That was a good point that you made, because it answered part of the earlier question in the beginning. Somebody asked, why does Darth have so many followers or have a following? And I think that you hit on it just now, because people love the bad guy, especially like in WWE, they love the villain. So I think a lot of it is just the idea of entertainment. That's it. You hit the bullseye on that one.
Yeah.
I think for me, his logical arguments is quite a roadblock for a lot of people. That's the one bit of credit that I will give the guy. I don't like the guy. I genuinely don't. But he's a very smart guy. But his tolerance lacks.
Could I ask you? I'm sorry to interrupt. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry to interrupt. But how do you say your screen name? Is it Shawnicious?
Shawniosis.
Okay,
Yeah.
Shawniosis. Okay, let me remark on what you just said, because you're,
Sure.
it seems that you're somewhat impressed by Darth's philosophical capability. But
yeah,
let me ask you, have you been to my website? The one that talks about his worldview. Have you actually visited it yet?
No.
Okay, I just want to make a friendly suggestion.
That's me being completely honest with you. Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, I'm not trying to force you to do anything. It's completely up to you. But I suggest you just take a look at my website. And I think this is just, again, it's just a suggestion. I hope that you're willing to be open enough to take a look at my website, because I really believe once you come out of that website, you'll change your mind on what his philosophical capabilities are. I really believe that. But it's just a suggestion. Thank you.
What I would say, Darth Dawkins, is there's been plenty of philosophical arguments, and I think that we can all appreciate that those are a struggle every day. Not in a struggle in that way, but it makes you think. There's a lot more each and every day. The more and more that you learn, the more and more that compromises what you think. And like I was saying to
knowledge is the truth. knowledge. Is
Yeah, but knowledge is not obtainable by human beings. That's what I believe.
Knowledge is why I actually am an atheist. That's what got me out of theism. Actual knowledge about stuff.
What knowledge do you hold?
That didn't come to me through a religious filter.
Yeah. We can all understand that religious or whatever it might be. But what knowledge do you hold?
Well, one of evolution, it's a fact, it's a given. There's absolutely no way to deny it. And anything to do with evolution, sciences, they all align. The age of the Earth, it's definitely not 6,000 years old. It's definitely 4,700 million years old. Give or take 5%. I always say a tolerance to be secure.
So that's not knowledge, is it? Evolution is not knowledge. It is a theory. Science does not prove fact or proof or truth. It's a pursuit of it.
Evolution is a demonstrable fact.
I'm not doubting you. I'm not doubting evolution. I believe it as well. But it is not 100% of knowledge or truth.
For me, it's not a
science does not delve in truth.
It works. Yeah, I don't use belief on science. I use knowledge on science. To use belief,
then
I could use the phrase belief when I went out of religion.
Then you're wrong. Why do you think people are still trying to prove Einstein's theory of relativity incorrect? Because it is not fact. It is a theory. It's in the pursuit of refining.
You know the difference between a scientific theory and the philosophical or however the theory that religion uses? Do you know the difference?
Absolutely. Which one's fact and knowledge? Or any?
Because the one from the religious side is more or less what the scientific guys would call just a simple little hunch.
No, that's a hypothesis.
Not even that for the religious side.
There is no scientific absolution of fact and knowledge in any discovery.
And I don't
always
exist.
Be refined.
And I don't exist.
Okay. You don't exist.
Just like you, I was stating a falsehood.
Okay.
I can tell you for an absolute fact, that if humans do not consume water, they will die. That's an absolute fact. Water must get into them in some means. That's an absolute fact.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. And you tell me the absolution of the time frame down to the second.
You can't.
Of when they'll die.
Just because I can say the phrase, I don't know.
You can't refine it, can you?
Listen to me. I said, just because I don't know the answer to that doesn't mean
that's not knowledge.
We cannot try to figure it out. I will not insert God of the gaps.
Well, I'm not assuming God of the gaps, I'm not promoting a God.
I'm an atheist.
You're talking about a pursuit of knowledge. You've told me immediately that you have knowledge of something.
I have absolute knowledge that if humans do not ingest water in one way or another, they will die. Usually within a week. They will be dead.
Usually within about 3 days.
No, well, I'm given for there is a few extreme cases. So I say within a week. That covers extreme cases.
Right. Yeah, that's gained by science, but you cannot determine. You will, if you stop drinking water today, you can't tell me the hour and the day that you'll die of not ingesting water.
No one can tell you that. But I can give you an absolute
So
fact.
you don't have knowledge.
Oh
but
my God.
But you have knowledge.
Oh my God. Nice booby trap. I call that a booby trap question. I call that a booby trap statement because, in fact, I see what you're trying to do. And I still state the absolute fact is that within 7 days, you are dead if water doesn't go into you in a high enough rate. 7 days, absolute knowledge that that would happen. What's your opinion, Darth Dawkins? Debunked.
Okay, I, as far as from what I'm seeing, you were not trying to make a point about exactly someone, whether it's you or someone else, would die, or, you know, you weren't trying to say this person is going to die at exactly this moment. All you were making was a general statement. You were saying that if you don't drink water within a certain amount of time, you will die. So you weren't trying to claim that you had absolute knowledge of the exact moment when someone is going to die. Now, please correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you are correct. I was claiming absolute knowledge that they will die within that long time period.
Right.
Which is
That's
definitely
what
over 3
I perceived
days.
that you were saying.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So that's what I perceived. And so I agree with you on that. I agree with you in a general statement. That is correct.
There.
You're making it a little hard, though. You could just do it a lot easier if you just say how long someone could go without air.
Yeah, I can use that one then.
Bingo.
I will make, just a minute. I will give you an absolute statement that within 3 hours of someone not bringing in oxygen into their body, they will be absolutely dead.
Your
within
statement
3
of
hours.
3 hours of going without air.
So within 3 hours of someone not breathing, they are dead. That's an absolute fact. Can you deny that?
It's a
within 3 hours.
A very vague fact. There's no truth on a refined answer to what you're stating. Yes, we are going to die. Yes, we will die. Yeah, you're correct. But you are not refining.
I don't have to refine.
Do you know that proof only lies with mathematics?
180 minutes is an extremely tight tolerance.
What, 3 minutes?
3 hours. 180 minutes.
Are we talking without air or
Correct.
water?
You will be absolutely die within 3 hours of not breathing. That's a fact. If you cannot breathe again within 3 hours, you'll be dead. That's a demonstrable fact.
But
that's what I'm talking about.
Can you agree that you can refine that down?
I have no reason to refine it down. For my statement, I can keep it held.
Okay, so
I'm not refining it. I'm keeping it as an absolute fact of within 3 hours of no longer breathing, you are dead. I'm keeping it at that time interval, 3 hours.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not.
There's no refinement there.
That's fine.
I mean, a cat in a box, for like 5 fucking weeks, is going to be dead. Why wait 4 extra weeks after a week? That's more my point, is that you're not refining anything.
I don't have to.
You're not applying,
because my statement as made is correct.
Well, you're not applying a proof. You're not applying a refinement down to how long a body can exert itself without fucking air. You're saying 3 hours? Who do you know that can live for 3 hours without air?
Strong
No one.
atheist.
Who do you know?
Just a minute. I want strong atheist to critique my statement that within 3 hours, a human that is not breathing at all will die if they do not get oxygen. Absolutely.
Why is that even a question?
Wrong. I would think it would be much shorter than that. I know you would get brain damage fairly quickly. But the statement within 3 hours, you have to kind of go along with that. I can't even believe it would be 3 hours.
Right. No, but
Yeah,
I was just
exactly.
using that long period to guarantee as an absolute. That's why I picked 3 hours. It was to guarantee an absolute. If
So
I would
long
said something
period-
like, if I would have said 90 seconds, there's a chance of survival. So I said 3 hours. Takes that all away completely.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if 1 hour was any more than 1 hour.
Yeah, in 3 hours, your body will actually be cooling down quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm not
Unless
sure.
you're heavily clothed in like winter outfit.
I'm not sure you could get a half hour. I think there have been a few strange incidences.
There has. That's why I said 3 hours.
Yeah.
There was one where the guy actually survived after an hour.
With
And-
no air at all.
Or what?
What happened is he got in an extremely cold situation and drowned.
Oh.
And slowed his.
But they managed to actually, because he was so cold, it stopped his metabolics, and he managed to actually survive.
Yeah, it slowed it down.
He had minor injuries to his brain, severe frostbite, the works, but he is still alive to this day, which is astounding for an hour. And that's why I picked 3 hours, because there was even
So,
that.
say for example, if
one.
you cryogenically, or however you pronounce it, if you completely froze your body down,
You're dead. That destroys the cell structure. You're gone. This guy didn't go below freezing. He went down low enough that the metabolics completely stopped, for all intents and purposes. It was low enough that what was left of oxygen didn't deplete
wouldn't time
completely.
stop though when you completely freeze? Or
Yeah,
at
but if
least
your body
just
went to zero
before it
and froze?
completely freezes.
Yeah, but if the body freezes, it will destroy the cells. That's why frostbite
So how
is so
does
bad.
cryogenics work?
You can never cryogenically freeze a human and bring him
Just
back
out of
alive.
curiosity, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you, but what the fuck has happened to Walt Disney then?
That's a fallacy. That didn't really happen.
I never even looked into it, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I heard it was
I don't
not.
think-
I'm pretty sure that there's multiple people. I could be wrong. I'm willing to accept that. But isn't there multiple people that have been cryogenically frozen where it's not an absolute zero? They're not completely frozen. There
Well, the thing
is
is-
movement for the cells to move.
We can't stay frozen very long. That wasn't frozen with this miracle guy. I don't like using the term miracle because I am an atheist. But it was an amazing bit of circumstances that saved him. But yeah, it was beautiful that he survived. So he was able to go back to his family. But yeah, people can go through some pretty amazing things and make it. You know what I mean? I've been shot twice, and stabbed 3 times, and I'm still here.
What city do you live in? Holy cow.
Out in Canada.
Oh, my.
In the middle of nowhere, where everyone was fighting over the drugs.
Oh,
I was
my.
in a shitty spot for a while.
I'm sorry. I'm glad you're still with us.
Yeah,
It happens.
definitely.
There's a lot of that stuff takes place. A lot more than you think. Nowadays, it ain't so
Well, I
bad.
thought
But back then, it was terrible.
I
Just remember,
thought
for me,
lived
when I
in
was-
a fucking shithole.
Yeah,
not
remember,
a-
this all happened
that
to me
you
in
lived
the
a
80s.
shithole.
This happened to me in the 80s.
Wow. Well,
And I wasn't exactly not part of the mess. So I was an idiot in the 80s.
Well, I'm glad you got.
So I was 6 years old at the best.
6 years
And I was
old.
a dick. Sorry.
I'm
I
not
was
going
born
to ask
in
you any
84.
real personal questions because I wouldn't want to dox you on stage. But yeah.
No. Fire away, honestly.
We got the entire Ethernet listening in down there, so we really wouldn't want to say too much.
Oh, I can see him. Yeah, he's like that. Like,
And he comes up.
what's going on? No, but honestly, jokes aside, I mean, it's the way that for God 420. This is for obviously. It's. I just
Come on,
I don't I don't appeal to sort of subjective, truths. They don't exist. I only apply to objectives. If
You
I want to
admit
gain
the
an
two
answer.
statements I made were in fact objective because
Yeah,
the ones I
yeah.
made, you could not reverse either one of them. They were.
I accept that there's no way that I can refute what you said.
Right.
Yeah, no one's going to live past that amount of time.
Right.
But
That's all I was
most
getting at.
important, and I accept. Yeah, I put it out there that you don't have an objective truth.
Right.
You
But if I said
it.
something like 10 minutes for drowning or
yeah, no one's going to live past that. Yeah,
4 days without water, which is really would be stretching it, but 4 days without water, you might survive both of those.
If they're a legend.
Yeah, and you might survive both of them back to back.
That was more my point, was that to me, it's like, it's not so much it's a given with those kind of statements, but there's no refining behind it. You can say, 10 days, do the cat in a box for 7 days. No food, no water, poison fucking vial. Who knows? You'd be very rarely surprised if it was still fucking alive.
Because I didn't say no food, but it's just the food has no water in it. It's dry, completely dry. So that's why.
Yeah, but I was implementing that there's
one important water.
But I was implementing that there might, that there could be, not just a Schrodinger's cat. Most importantly, there's no refining down to a proof. There's no complete objectivity in any refinement. Yes, we can all say, if you haven't drunk water in 5 days, you're dead.
Yeah.
If you haven't eaten in 3 weeks, you might have survived.
Yeah, you could actually survive a month without food,
but you're going to die eventually. Yeah, we can all say
very,
that.
very low energy activity. You can go a very long time without actual food.
But exactly. Food, water, fluids, you can't. A few days at best, if you're lucky.
If it's just a waiting game,
foods, you can actually go on weeks and weeks.
Yeah, because if you know it's a waiting game and you know they will be coming, you can just wait and just
you can retain your energy for what you need it for.
Yeah,
and wait it out.
Lungs.
But fluids, you can't, which I agree with. You're right.
Real quick, I looked this up here. The only humans that have been revived after cryogenic freezing are living embryos. The process will probably kill an adult.
Yes.
Yeah,
He was talking about full-fledged human. I wasn't thinking about the embryo.
Yeah,
you're right. An embryo is just a cell.
What I wanted to say is that no one's ever been awakened or resuscitated or anything like that, as far as I'm aware. But as far as I'm aware, there's people that's been put into it.
Might be able to do it in the future, especially Futurama.
that's with that. That's literally it. You know, that was more my point. No one's actually been awakened or woke up or resuscitated or anything like that. But as far as I was aware, there's a good few people that's actually opted for it, and I generally
want to. You know, I mean, if anything,
cryogenically
it's a giant amount of money,
hoping for technology. Yeah.
Yeah. If anything, they gives them a test subject. Because I mean, you've got that. You've got no. I'm serious. Think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Cells
literally
are
just give themselves
slowly
to you.
moving.
Anyway, we got any more questions for Darth Dawkins Debunked? Come on, Ethernet, you have a question?
I'm sorry,
Anybody?
Darth, by the way.
Why is my Wi-Fi so slow, Ethernet?
Good one. Anybody in the audience?
Well, if there's no more questions, then I'm going to go ahead and head out. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Thank